So, I was cut off. Uh, so my question is, how do people know this technology, any part of it exists, and not tell people, not say to people, this is possible, this is happening to people, and because it's out loud and they keep changing what they're saying, it's human. So what I mean by that is that at one point they said they had some sort of supercomputer. Well, a computer doesn't keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which is how I was able to prove this was happening. And they were upset that I used the word provoke because in their minds they felt that this would be something that we could we that's when we use the word we could clean up. Well, maybe I was just mistaken, or that is another form of emotional abuse. I'm not cleaning anything up. I want my part in this to be public and I want it to be known. I fought each and every day against this. So this isn't a computer that I was fighting with. I was fighting with humans who keep changing everything and twisting everything because like they said that they thought at some point they could keep this hidden. I wasn't I was never hidden. And when they're talking about, they said something as I was waking up that was important. They said, I will never be like a pretty white woman. And how I take that, they mean it to say that I wouldn't have the same life experiences as a pretty white woman. My whole life has been about being black and what it's been like to be black, like me, which is taken from a famous book. I was never under the pretense or operating under the pretense that I was not a black person. And partially what I think they wanted to do is make me think that, oh, I was going to have the type of life experiences that a white woman would have. Why would I think that? So what they were saying is that they would send me dreams to make me think I was going to experience something different. I don't understand that. Like I really don't understand why they thought this was possible, but I think some of this has to do with their mental illness. I do believe that they have they are mentally ill. This technology doesn't exist the way they said it does. It doesn't work the way they said it worked. They never talked to me about these dreams. Going back to what they asked about whether they excuse me, let me correct myself. They did not ask me did I urinate in a park. They accused me. They said I did do it. And they came up with a whole backstory to this urinating in the park thing. And I said in the video, I did not urinate in the park. What I'm telling you is that there's something with this that's meant to make people argue, fight, uh, I'm supposed to now run around the building looking for the voices and videotaping it. And then, God forbid, something goes wrong, something happens. Well, it's my fault. I did all this running around the building. They said they were trying to form an argument, craft an argument, and I have a whole playlist about that and how I would phrase things because they would going to take over my identity and then they were going to go here and there and pretend to be me. Then they'll use voice cloning. What I think what this was supposed to be, this was supposed to be part of that scam where you have people in other countries calling Americans, developing a relationship with them, and then asking them for money. I think that's what this was supposed to be. And how would an American sound? How would a New Yorker sound? How would a black woman sound? That's what I think this was supposed to be. What stops it is having these videos. The other thing is there's someone with a very similar name as mine having a GoFundMe. And I told you guys, do not contribute to a GoFundMe thinking it's me. It's not me. And I've said this now since about 2022 when they were saying that they thought I should have a GoFundMe. No. The other big deal, what else was it that I wanted to tell you about what they're saying and trying to do? So what this is supposed to look like a mental illness. I'm supposed to falsely remember things and they can then accuse me of anything. How I feel this works in terms of race is they brought in black people who aren't connected to me, who don't have any experience with my life experience, and I think I was supposed to feel like I didn't have a good life. Like I was supposed to complain about my life. And they kept talking about that, saying that maybe Catholic school taught me not to complain about my life. But then they, on the flip side, when I talk about my accomplishments, they get upset. So are they getting upset because I've accomplished things and I have a tone of someone who feels like, yeah, I'm proud of what I've accomplished? Or are they getting upset because I'm not complaining enough? So either way, I would be stuck in their eyes. Had I been on camera saying, I didn't get to do this, blah, 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 because I'm black and I didn't have, then they would have, you're a complainer. You're a horrible person. But because I have a tone of being proud of what I was able to accomplish and how racism affects my life, oh, you bragging, you're someone who is going around, you have pride. So either way, I would have had a problem. And that's partly what I'm saying, that there's something in these types of people that don't want to accept Black accomplishments. And I talked about that in a video where I talk about Black accomplishments are minimized and reduced. So I had a whole video, and I'll link that video where I was talking about that, and how I feel that that is reality. So a black person isn't supposed to have black pride, but we went through, and my generation was raised having black pride because our parents and the grandparents wanted us to feel that, to feel proud of our accomplishments, not have to hide, reduce, or minimize ourselves to fit in. So why this group doesn't understand that, I don't understand. Who are they? When I hear a black person talk about accomplishments in that proud way, I'm proud of that person. It's something that I feel pride. And they talked about, when I watch TV, I smile when I see, like, accomplished black people. They thought I would be jealous. Why would I be jealous? We fought for decades to have these accomplishments. Why? And that's my point. It wasn't like these accomplishments were easy, like, oh, people were just handing out accomplishments and we were like grabbing all the accomplishments. No, we fought for these accomplishments. So that to me is another form of emotional abuse. So the last thing I want to talk about, in terms of they're talking about things, I don't hear them as clearly, thankfully, is that they're trying to figure out what I'm going to say before I say it, so that they can kind of feel like they're influencing me. That is another form of emotional abuse, where you have to squeeze your way into someone's life, no matter how hard it is, to feel like you have been a part of this person's life, and then you can say publicly, oh, look, I've been a part of this person's life. What really have I been talking about since this started? Them. This is how it feels to be emotionally abused by people who focus so much on themselves that they can't see you as a separate person. That's, I'm just an extension of themselves. And how, if this had been my life, all my life, and they said, they're finally admitting I couldn't have had a bad childhood, I think they just said, because I had I had the life experiences of a child. And partly why it's so important to me that my generation keeps this going is because we were given that. That was the gift we were given by our parents, grandparents, and other people. They gave us the gift of my generation not having to work as kids. Could you imagine, like, being a child and not just going to school, sports, hang out with your friends, but actually working in factories, railroads? That's what they want to bring back, by the way. They want to bring back child labor. Hell no. Hell no. They're bringing people from other countries and they're like, well, the kids can work with their parents. No, kids should be in school. Kids should have a childhood. Kids, you shouldn't grow up at, I'm going to be 51 soon. You shouldn't grow up at 51 and say, I didn't even have a childhood because I was working. What? So partly what I think this is all about is slowly destroying those things that made my generation have a childhood, destroying the pride of being able to say, yeah, I did this and I went there, and I, so that slowly we go back in time to a time when children didn't have a childhood. They talked about being young parents, and how by 18 some of them had children, and they talk about that, and I'm asking them, did you wish you could have done things differently? So we're talking about issues that my generation didn't have as much and later generations didn't have. That was something that my generation and younger didn't experience as much. So we had the same life experiences as our grandparents wanted us to have, meaning our grandparents parents wanted us to have childhoods, teenage lives. I was just talking about how I think adulthood is strange. We make 18-year-olds adults, but we don't let them drink until they're 21. Why not push adulthood to 21? I'm saying I don't want 21 and younger to vote. I think you have to live life a little bit. So you vote at 21. Everything happens at 21, which helps because that means if you're getting in debt, you have someone co-sign, so you won't have as much debt. You won't have as much responsibility. You'll have your parents' health insurance. So you'll have the perks of still being a minor until you're 21 and then going into adulthood. So what I'm saying is my generation was allowed to be children. We were allowed to be teenagers. We were allowed to do the things that these people would try to reverse. We were allowed to have a life. And I think it's important that that continues. But I think I slowly hear them sort of saying, well, it's not a bad thing to have kids by 18. Why would you want that for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren? Why would you want that? And that's partly what I hear happening. I think they're trying the truth, I think, is they're trying to make it okay for adults to have children as child marriages, children. I don't want that. And I think that's part of what they're trying to do. They're trying to push us back into a world where children aren't children and they should be. Thank you for watching.